Hi everyone, and welcome to this practical workshop where I'll share some of the lessons learned in my experience as the head of operational investment risk and head of insurance for Eurochem, one of the largest fertilizer companies in the world. So I will try and share some of the lessons I learned as a risk manager coming to the insurance world and trying to apply my risk management trade to the insurance conversation. And this is one of the most important themes in the Risk Awareness Week. So, and first surprise to me, and I guess to many other risk managers out there, is that you would think insurance is risk-based, but it is so not. At least not on the buying side. I mean, this sounds so obvious, and yet I was amazed at how little mathematical thinking goes into that saying. Ask if you're in insurance, if you're working in insurance buying, I ask you, how often do you actually calculate the risk profile that you're trying to place in the insurance market? So even before we start talking to the underwriters, we already know how much our risk profile is worth. And I'll talk a little bit about underwriters and brokers at the end of this show. So step number one, understand your risk profile. Literally calculate your loss exceedance curve, your loss distribution, to understand how much risk you need to transfer, what the deductible may look like, and what's the fair price for that kind of risk profile. The second lesson that we've learned, and by the way, I'm showing you extracts from an insurance submission that we would prepare for. We've learned that if you take risk competencies and insurance competencies and combine them into one and truly understand your risk profile before you even begin talking to the underwriters, we have brokers who find the underwriters, who kind of probe the underwriters, but we always do a roadshow and we explain directly to the underwriters what our risk profile looks like, what our mitigation looks like, and our risk profile is different to the industry average, which I'm going to talk about in a second. The third interesting lesson that we've learned is that with insurance markets, it's all about testing different hypotheses. And this is, I guess, this is kind of the unfortunate reality, which disappointed me. The underwriters who are friends with that particular broker. And when you have two brokers, for example, in different countries, one in Belgium, one in Switzerland, or one in Russia, and one in US, by selecting a certain broker, it is our responsibility to make sure we work with the underwriters directly to help them price the risk fairly, because this is our job for our corporations, for our shareholders. The reality is, unless you understand what this fair price is yourself, unless you've calculated your own risk profile, and unless you work with the underwriters, your chances of, or you rely on brokers to do this selling, the risk selling on your behalf, because we took the effort to better understand the risk profile that we are placing. We then were able to compare that risk profile to the industry average risk profile to confirm or deny the hypothesis that our risk profile is significantly better or similar or worse than the industry average. The infrastructure is now built, the port has been upgraded, the logistics has been figured out, the risk profile of the second, almost identical plant is so drastically different that you have to sell this risk completely different. So we ended up writing a completely different submission, which would, by the way, like 30 pages on different ways how we quantify risks. and 2 or 3 pages just specifically outlining this second plant is not the same as the first plant. Completely different risk profile. And by the way, we ended up saving, I think, almost 70% on the premiums for that specific plant. By the way, this is the only time we've ever done that. So we've actually calculated how much do we need to save on insurance for us to justify this additional risk exposure from A- to BBB. And based on our calculation, we needed to save more than 23% on premiums to justify this. So the switch was completely justified at the end, which to me is just insanity, because you can't buy insurance without understanding the risk profile. Good luck saving on insurance with a heat map. If you do save, send me a message. Send me a message how much you saved on a heat map without proper risk quantification.